Okay, let's be honest. When you hear the name Dante, what's the first thing that pops into your head? It's hell, right? All those grim circles of punishment. But what if I told you that's just the starting line? We're going to dive into how Dante's real masterpiece isn't just a tour of damnation, but an actual roadmap, a guide for getting from total crisis to finding your purpose.
I know, it sounds a little like something you'd find in the self-help aisles today, but that's genuinely how Dante thought about it. This wasn't just some fantasy epic he was writing, he was literally drawing a map for the human soul.
See, this is the key. Dante is way more than just the poet of hell. He was a philosopher, and he was on a mission to chart a course for human happiness. His real goal was to show people how to find their way in a world that felt completely chaotic. So that whole journey through the afterlife, it's really a guide to living a good life right here on Earth. Let's dig in and see how he built this incredible map.
All right, so to understand Dante's journey, we've got to go back to where it all began, 13th century Florence. Long before he ever imagined the circles of hell, his entire world was shaped by two powerful forces, a revolutionary new style of poetry and a girl named Beatrice.
Okay, so let's get the timeline straight, because these three moments are everything. He's born in 1265. Then, when he's just 9 years old, he meets 8-year-old Beatrice. Just one meeting, but that one moment becomes his entire world. And then, tragically, she dies in 1290. But here's the thing. Her death isn't the end of her story in his life. Not even close. It's the beginning. She gets transformed from a real person into this divine, spiritual guide who will literally become his key to the stars.
Now, Dante wasn't just making this stuff up on his own. He was part of this really cool poetic movement called the Dolce Stil Novo, which translates to the sweet new style. And these poets, man, they saw love differently. It wasn't just about romance or desire. For them, true love was a vehicle, a way to get closer to understanding the divine, to achieve spiritual elevation.
And Dante, he took this idea and just ran with it. He went all in. In one of his first major works, the Vita Nova, he says this about Beatrice. I mean, think about that. She's not just a woman to him, she's practically a miracle worker. Her very presence can save your soul. But this beautiful, perfect world of divine love and poetry, yeah, it was about to get completely shattered.
So, let's talk about that dark wood. You know the famous opening line of the Inferno, right? Midway up on the journey of our life, I found myself within a dark wood. Well, that wasn't just some poetic metaphor. For Dante, it was terrifyingly real. And what threw him into that darkness was the brutal, backstabbing politics of his beloved Florence.
Okay, deep breath, because Florentine politics was a mess. You basically had two big factions, the Guelphs, who were Team Pope, and the Ghibellines, who were Team Holy Roman Emperor. Dante's party was the Guelphs. Simple enough, right? Wrong! The Guelphs then split into two more factions, the Blacks and the Whites. Dante was a white Guelph, and unfortunately for him, he ended up on the losing side of a nasty power struggle.
And this is the moment that changed everything. In 1302, Dante was officially exiled from Florence. He was told if he ever set foot in his home city again, he would be burned at the stake. He would never go home. He lost his status, his wealth, his identity. Everything. This is his dark wood. And it's from this place of absolute crisis that his greatest work is born.
So imagine you're Dante. You've lost everything. You're adrift. What do? You look for a new guide. Beatrice was still his spiritual North Star, his ideal. But to make sense of the real, tangible suffering he was going through, he found a new love, philosophy.
In a work he wrote called The Convivio, he describes this noble lady, a donna gentile, who comforted him in his grief. And this noble lady, she's his powerful, beautiful metaphor for philosophy. She's the one who gave him the intellectual tools he needed to start rebuilding his shattered world.
And for Dante, philosophy wasn't some dry academic thing you just read about in dusty books. No way. He had this amazing definition for it, l'amoroso uso della sapienza, the loving use of wisdom. It was an active, passionate pursuit, a way to use reason to find happiness right here on Earth, especially when, your world is falling apart.
Okay, so this is where things get really interesting. This is arguably Dante's most incredible game-changing innovation. He takes this vague, kind of spooky concept of purgatory that no one had really defined, and he turns it into a detailed psychological roadmap for how a human being can change for the better. This isn't just epic fantasy world building, it's soul building.
Let's just look at the difference here.
Before Dante, the standard view of purgatory was basically a waiting room for heaven that felt a lot like a temporary hell. You just suffered, passively. But Dante's vision, whoa, it was completely revolutionary. For him, the whole purpose wasn't just to repay a debt for sin. It was about moral change, about actually becoming good. It's not passive punishment, it's willing suffering with a purpose. Psychology is central. It's a total transformation.
And his new geography for the afterlife is just brilliant. He imagines purgatory as this giant mountain rising out of the ocean on the exact opposite side of the globe from Jerusalem. And what's at the very summit? The Garden of Eden. The symbolism is just perfect. The place where humanity fell is now the final destination on the path to redemption. You have to climb back to where you started.
And the climb up this mountain, it's like a masterclass in moral psychology. There are 7 terraces, one for each of the deadly sins, but it's not just punishment. The proud, for instance, are forced to carry huge stones on their backs, weighing them down so they can't look up with arrogance. The envious have their eyes sewn shut with iron wire because they sinned with their eyes. The wrathful are lost in smoke. It's all about unlearning the bad habits of the soul by actively practicing the opposite virtue. It's incredible. So let's just recap Dante's key innovations here. He turns purgatory into a place of hope, not despair. It's guided by angels, not demons. Crucially, the souls there willingly undergo their purification because they know it's making them better. It's a place of community and prayer. He even invents a waiting area called anti-purgatory for people who put off repenting. I mean, he basically invented the entire modern concept of purgatory as we know it.
So, where is this all going? How does all this, the love for Beatrice, the pain of exile, the turn to philosophy, this radical reinvention of purgatory, how does it all come together? Well, it all culminates in his ultimate masterpiece, the Divine Comedy.
The Divine Comedy isn't just an epic poem. It's the grand synthesis of his entire life. It's everything he learned, everything he suffered, everything he loved. After losing his official role as a politician in Florence, he basically took on a new role, a teacher for the entire world. The poem was his gift, his way of trying to guide everyone out of their own dark woods and toward happiness.
And you see his philosophy woven through every single line. Take this quote from the Purgatorio. This is his political theory in a nutshell. He believed humanity needed 2 independent powers to guide it: the emperor, a sun for earthly government, and the pope, a sun for spiritual matters. The problem in his view was that one sun was always trying to block out the other, leaving everyone in darkness.
So in the end, Dante's entire life is this incredible testament to taking the worst kind of personal crisis, exile, loss, total confusion, and transforming it into something meaningful, something universal. He drew a map to save himself, and in doing so, he gave one to all of us, which, really, just leaves one big question for you, doesn't it? If Dante mapped a journey from his personal crisis to universal meaning, what map is your life drawing?